Yeah.
Stand up, I'm sorry, I'm too lazy. But I know I turned it on, I thought it was the first one up, but I don't think I did. Must have no citizens on there.
Welcome to the Township of Comstock Board Meeting, Monday, July 6, 2026. This meeting is now called to order. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With the agenda, I would like to see if we could move the ordinance report after closed session.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Moving along to public comments on agenda items only. A citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor, and no other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from board members, but you are welcome to make an appointment with a supervisor to discuss your comments further. Contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
Hi, Tammy Keeler. I see that there's a homeless thing on here. Can I speak about that? That's on the agenda? Something has to be done. Salary Street seems to go to place now. There was a gentleman out there the other day. Someone went to take their kids down there. There was a transgender male out there with his leg up in the air. Everything hanging out. He was laying there. I yelled at him. I did. There was plenty of police reports made, I do believe. And then, plus, he was also caught down there. He's got an air mattress. They were down there doing what's not supposed to, you know what I'm saying? Having sex. I'll just put it that way. There are children and stuff around there. Something's got to be done about these homeless. So the other day I go down there, I find like 5 needles down there. That part don't hardly get used because of that fact. Like I said, we got to do something about this. Put an ordinance on it, do something. Because, you know, when you can't even take your kids down the street to the park, especially when it's way over there, it's getting pretty bad. Then the other night, there are like 2 or 3 tents set up there. They do this on the weekends, I believe, when they know the ordinance officer is not around. We got to do something about this homeless because it's getting bad, especially down by where I live. You still got people sleeping in the park down here also, but that there was just disgusting. So we're gonna have to put, you guys are gonna have to put signs, something up there, because like I said, there's a lot of kids around the Celery Street area. So if you guys could help us out with that, we'd really appreciate it. I also go around the neighborhood and I check the neighborhood all the time just to make sure, you know, it's safe for the kids around there. I need more to help me. I want to start the neighborhood watch. I want signs put up. I don't know how you get those. There's a lot of criminal activity around there. I do believe I don't know, there's been state police down there, county police. I don't know if they're gonna bust somebody down there or what, but something's gotta be done here. Because, and the meth in that neighborhood is getting bad too. You could tell by the people just walking down the street and the houses that they're going to and where they're coming out with it at. So we're gonna need more enforcement down there or something. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Lynette McCurley, Susan Avenue. I want to address the comments on agenda items only. I have been told the bylaws were changed to an agenda items only because there were too many citizen comments and the board couldn't get down to their business. Yet last meeting, we listened over and over to repetitious firefighters' comments. Why not have those types of comments limited to where they would have a committee that presents their comments? Curious too why there were no comments or haven't been that I've noted from the fire department regarding the emergency sirens. And yet it seems that all emergency services should be supportive of a way to provide for our community. When there are revisions to ordinances for agenda packets, why can't there be the revisions printed in bold type or italicized so that those of us reading do not have to go back and get former copies in order to compare?
Thank you, ma'am. If there are no further comments, we'll be moving along to announcements for departments, boards, and commissions. Commissioner?
Thank you, Ben. I'm John Gisler, County Commissioner. That includes, my district includes Comstock and 4 other rural districts, townships. And I have 4 things I'd like to mention tonight. I'll do it quickly. First of all, Thursday, and probably Nicole knows more about this than I do, Thursday morning at 9 o'clock is when the voting apparatus gets tested in every voting place. So if nobody gets to watch Nicole do her thing, you can go downtown and there'll be a county clerk will be testing the equipment down there, and any other place that does actually have voting going on the 4th of August. Thursday at 9 is the testing time. The child care millage, I'm still recommending that you vote no on that. I think child care is important. We need to pay attention to it, but we don't need another millage. My group that meets every second Monday, Kalamazoo Citizens for Responsible Government, is going to have on the 13th of this month, Eric Stewart, who's the Assistant Superintendent of KRESA for the facility on 94 and Sprinkle Road, the Career Campus, or Career Connect Campus, I think it is. And that's going to be a meeting that we're going to have at 8:30 in the morning on the 13th at Mark's Diner on Romance Road in the city of Portage. And the last thing, and I hesitate to mention it because we don't know a lot yet. We've had 2 special meetings to try to decide how we're going to go about replacing Kevin Catlin, our superior in every way, shape, or form administrator, who's going to be leaving on August 14 to go to a much bigger location, much bigger county in Virginia. And, you know, it was only a question of time. He's that good. He had a target on him all along. Somebody wanted to get him badly, and somebody in Chesterfield County, Virginia is going to have a great guy. The other thing is that tonight, because it's the first of your meetings, it's also the only meeting of the month for Waukesha. So if I bail early, it's not that anything you said. Occasionally it's something Jerry says, but, you know, I'll be leaving early and I'll try to, you know, not interfere with what's being said at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Be moving on to the consent agenda. Looking for approval of the meeting minutes from June 15th, 2026, meeting minutes from June 18th, 2026, bills payable July 7th, 2026.
Mr. Supervisor, I have one change before on that vote, if you would. On the meeting minutes for June 15th, on page 9, there's a vote there that was listed as being unanimous, and there was one nay vote there. That was by myself on that, concerning the fob issue for the building. And so I'm asking for a correction of that.
That is correct. I heard the vote.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, the building access for the deputy treasurer, you are no vote, and you want that changed?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the amendments.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We're moving along to presentations. We have the audit presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Matt Smith. I worked on the audit this year, and we provided a governance letter and an audit report, and I'm just kind of go over those briefly for you guys. I'm going to start with the governance letter. That's just kind of an opportunity for us to talk with the board, present anything that we think might be worthy of you guys knowing. One of the things that we usually bring up is if any new accounting standards were implemented or there was any significant accounting policy changes, and there was nothing significant that was done this year. Also, if there was any difficulties we had during the audit, we would put that in the letter. And again, staff was very responsive to any inquiries we had and got us the information we needed, so we didn't have any difficulties completing the audit. Again, if there was any significant entries that we had to make to get the statements in accordance with GAAP, we'd kind of bring those to your attention. And again, no significant entries. And then just the last thing that we would consider, just anything that we came across during our audit that we thought, some improvement in processes, we would put suggestions in this letter. And again, there was nothing that really came to our attention that we felt that needed to be brought to you guys' attention. So it was, a pretty good, clean audit for us this year. And then for the audit, I wanted to go over, we provide an audit opinion. And so that kind of talks about the responsibilities of management, and the responsibilities of management are to, prepare the statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and design and implement internal controls to make sure that those statements aren't materially misstated. Our responsibility as the auditors are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether those financial statements are free of material misstatements and are prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and get enough evidence to provide an opinion. And the way that we get enough evidence to provide that opinion is, we do some sampling of transactions. We certainly don't look at every transaction, but we look at based on some statistics and just kind of the standards, we look at certain transactions. We look at outside, support for those things, invoices from vendors and state website support for some of the revenues. And then we do some inquiries and we do some analytical procedures just to get a good, feeling that the statements are prepared properly. And so the end result is that we were able to provide a clean opinion that, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the township. This is an unmodified opinion. There wasn't any areas where we had to modify that opinion to say, we weren't able to get enough evidence to provide an opinion on that. Everything that we looked at, we were able to provide an opinion on. And then just some, overall, items to note during the year. This year, we did not have to do a single audit. That's a federal compliance audit. You guys had one last year because you guys used up the remainder of your ARPA dollars and you had some firefighter grants which got you guys over the $750,000 threshold. But this year, the threshold is up to $1 million, and then you also didn't have any of those ARPA dollars to spend, so that you guys were under that threshold and we didn't have to do a federal compliance audit. You guys did have about $1.3 million in fire capital purchases, primarily replacing a fire truck. A good portion of that was covered through insurance reimbursements. And then I also noticed that there was about $600,000 on the Neal Street development. Is there any questions, information I could provide for you guys?
Trustee Amos, any questions?
No. I'm good.
Trustee Pratt?
And not tonight, thank you.
Clerk Bochamp?
I don't have any.
Trustee MacGyver?
No, thanks.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
I have one or two. Is there anything coming from the government that you can see that would impact our township for this year?
I have not seen anything recently. I mean, there was certainly that change in the gas tax, and they took the sales tax off the gas purchases, which can affect the constitutional revenue sharing, but that should already have started to impact, so.
And the other one I had was any advice or anything that you saw to improve efficiency or transparency in the treasurer's office?
Nothing that came to our attention, no.
Okay, thank you.
No questions for me. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Moving along through business, through fire and rescue, and into planning and zoning for Wesley Farm Step 3 approval. Attorney Thal, are you taking this one?
Sure. So this is the final approval of the condominium project, Wesley Farms. This is the step 3, which is the final step for the township board and the final step in the approval process. It looks as though they have satisfied the requirements for the board pursuant to the ordinance. There's a number of things that we need to verify to finalize it. It looks like, we have a letter from Paul Schramm to Kyle Muka that delineates those last things required by the ordinance. All monuments have to be placed, all roads are completed. Road Commission formally accepted the road on 6/6/26 or 6/16/26. There are no waterways on the property. There are no floodplains on the property. Utilities have been installed and leads have been provided to all lots. Electric utilities have been installed. All public improvements required by step 2 approval have been built. The final condominium plan is complete. We have all statutory approvals have been satisfied. The developer intends to record the master deed immediately upon township's approval. If it must be recorded prior to approval, we can accommodate that sequence. And so it appears that they've complied with the final step 3 requirements. The only thing that I would condition it upon is I have not reviewed the master deed for the condominium or the bylaws yet. So I think any approval should be conditioned upon township attorney review of the master deed and bylaws for the condominium project, and That would be the one condition I would see that we would make on it.
Treasurer Bloomfield, any questions for board members or Attorney Thal?
No.
Trustee MacGyver?
No, thank you.
Clerk Bochamp?
I don't have any.
Trustee Pratt?
None for me, thank you.
Trustee Amos?
No.
Thank you, Attorney Thal. Looking for a motion?
Attorney Thal, can you, I was writing as you were talking.
So-
You need to review the master deed.
And bylaws
And
for the
bylaws.
condominium. So, yeah, the motion we'd be looking for is approval, step 3 approval for Wesley Farms, conditioned upon final review and approval of the master deed and bylaws by the township attorney.
Okay, I move that we approve the Wesley Farms Step 3 approval, conditional on the final review and approval of attorney's review of master deed and bylaws.
Second?
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, supported by Trustee MacGyver. Roll call vote?
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
No.
Clerk Bochamp, yes. Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Trustee MacGyver?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving along to Clerk Bochamp for the August 4th election report.
Okay, voters have 3 ways they can vote in the August 4th primary election. They can absentee vote, early in-person vote, or vote on election day. As of today, 3,235 absentee ballots have been mailed and 407, or about 13%, have been returned. Absentee voters have until 8 p.m. on election day to return their ballot. Early voting will begin on Saturday, July 25th, and will go through Sunday, August 2nd. The early voting center will be here at Comstock Township Hall, and Comstock and Galesburg voters can vote here. Each of the 9 early days, the polls will be open from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. Comstock voters cannot vote at the Expo Center or any of the other county early voting sites. They can only early vote here at Comstock Township Hall. On election day, voters can vote at their assigned precincts. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on election day. Just a reminder, with a primary election, you can only vote one party column. If you cross columns, your vote will not count for any partisan position on the ballot. And as Commissioner Gisler mentioned, the public accuracy test is this Thursday at 9 a.m. and it is here at in this meeting room, and the public is welcome to attend.
Thank you, Clerk Bochamp. Any board member questions? Be moving along to Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes, first I'd like to welcome General Seacrest, who'd like to talk about the wall that heals that's coming to Battle Creek.
Yes, I am Bob Seacrest, Vice Chair of the Calhoun County Red, White, and Blue Foundation. I've also a retired Brigadier General of the United States Army, 43 years of service. I have with me today Mr. Batista, who's a Vietnam veteran. I thought it'd be worthwhile to hear from an actual veteran. Is that okay?
If you, underneath it, you lift it up
Yes.
and press the button underneath it, somehow it turned off.
Should be green. It's not.
Live now?
No.
You gotta hold it just a little bit longer.
I have to go back to college to figure that out.
There it is.
Okay. Do you want to start over, or was I loud enough? Can you hear me now?
I just still don't think it's
It's
on.
not on, unfortunately. Sorry about
Well,
that.
no, it was green before.
Oops.
I'm losing everything here.
There you go. It's on now. You got it?
He broke it.
No, it turned off again.
It turned back off.
No, it's on.
I don't have my aide here, so anyway.
Sorry
I am-
about that.
Anyway, I'll start over. I am Bob Seacrest. I'm Vice Chair of the Calhoun County Red, White, and Blue Foundation. I'm also a retired Brigadier General, 43 years in the United States Army. I have with me Richard Batista, who is a Vietnam veteran. When I finish, I would like to be able to have him give a couple of comments also. And I thank the board for allowing me to be here. And I thank you for what you do for the public. to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America, the Calhoun County Red, White, and Blue Foundation is bringing the Wall That Heals, August 18 through 23, to Harper Creek High School in Battle Creek. The foundation is bringing a 3/4 size replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, sometimes called the Wall, in Washington, D.C., to Southwest Michigan. For Southwest Michigan, I say that because there's 2 locations in Michigan for the Wall this year, and we were selected for Southwest Michigan. The exhibit also includes an education center, which displays and features hometown heroes. Hometown heroes will be displayed with a digital photo display of service members from this area who gave their ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam. And we'll have a video rolling tape of their bios and their pictures for everybody in the 5-county area here. In addition, the Education Center includes what we call the In Memory program that honors Vietnam veterans who returned home and since then have died. This sacred replica bears the names of 58,281 American service members who gave their ultimate price in Vietnam. That's 58,281 fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, sons, and daughters, and friends. While those names are etched in the black granite, the story does not end there. Almost 3 million served in Vietnam, including Richard here. We remember those who have since passed away from their wounds they obtained in Vietnam and the illnesses they obtained in Vietnam. So we honor all the veterans and their families. So on August 18th, I encourage all from Southwest Michigan to line Michigan Avenue and Main Street in Battle Creek as we escort the wall from Galesburg High School to Harper Creek High School. We hope the community stands tall in reverence to these that we honor. We ask that you join our welcome home ceremony, which will be on Thursday of that week, and a candlelight Ancient Orange ceremony, which will be on Friday of that week. Each evening at 9 p.m., we will pause to render taps, a powerful moment to remind us of their sacrifices. This event is an education for those who were not born yet. I'm looking around up here. There's some of you who were not born yet. It's healing for those who have sacrificed. It's healing for those who served in Vietnam. It is a visible expression of our gratitude for their services. It's an opportunity for everybody in Southwest Michigan to come together. We can't do it alone. We need volunteers, we need sponsors, we need donors. We need American patriots who understand with remembrance requires their action. So I invite you to our website, which is wallthathealsbattlecreek.com. The website is wallthathealsbattlecreek.com to see how you can participate in this event that honors all who are in uniform and their families. The event schedule, the volunteer and sponsor opportunities, education information, and the In Memory program information is at the website. And just one comment I'm going to make about the In Memory program. At the website, we have Honor Veterans. If a person clicks on that and they know somebody who returned from Vietnam and has since passed, they can submit their names and we will honor them. And if that's done by July 20th, We will have them on a video display with their picture and a bio also. I guess I'm asking if this board would consider a proclamation in support of the wall that heals. Also, I suggest that anybody who wants to know what's going on, they go to our Facebook page, which is the Wall That Heals Battle Creek. On that page, we are displaying the picture and the bios of every veteran who gave their ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam who were from this area. Vietnam Veterans of America will also have a Huey display across the street from our wall. So I say, in August, let's everybody in Southwest Michigan, including Comstock Township, show for these veterans what they should have heard when they come home. Welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. I look forward to seeing all of you in August 18th through the 23rd. I will be available after this to answer questions in the back for anybody here who has some questions. I'm now going to turn it over to Richard Batista, who served in Vietnam for us.
Thank you, General Sechrist, Comstock Board of Trustees, General Sechrist, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Batista. I am a decorated Vietnam War veteran, and I am an entrepreneur for the past 40 years. Thank you for having us tonight. It means a lot to us, supporting the effort to bring the Vietnam Memorial Wall to Battle Creek, August 20th through the 23rd. For many, this wall is a place to remember history. For me, deeply personal. As a Vietnam veteran, many of the names engraved on this wall were not strangers. They were friends. We grew up together. We played on the same high school football team together. And then we all went off to war. Sadly, not all of us came home. When I stand before that wall in August, I won't just see the names carved in black granite. I see young men full of dreams, laughter, and promise. I'll remember their courage, their sacrifice, and the lives they never had the opportunity to live. It will be an emotional journey for me, as it will be for many veterans and families. But it's also an opportunity to ensure that their sacrifice can never, ever be forgotten. I ask each of you to help us honor these heroes by supporting this event, bringing your family, your friends, and teaching future generations the true cost of freedom, because as we all know, freedom is not free. May we always remember those who gave everything for our country. God bless the men and women whose names are on that wall. May they rest in eternal peace, and may God continue to bless this great country, the United States of America. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your service. Any board questions? Treasurer Bloomfield?
Nope, thank you for coming, you two.
Trustee MacGyver?
Thank you, gentlemen. It's certainly enlightening again to hear that. Thank you for being here.
Clerk Beauchamp?
Thank you for coming tonight.
Trustee Pratt?
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's well needed and well received.
Trustee Amos?
I would just like to say that I was in the Navy during the Vietnam War, and I did not go to war. I did not go to Vietnam. But I sat home, and I know when the war ended, and I watched it on TV, and They disgraced our soldiers when they came home. And the people should not have been mad at the veterans. They should have been mad at our government who fought this war and the useless loss that was made. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along to supervisor. Oh, I'm sorry. We are moving along right to treasurer for the senior millage discussion.
Go ahead, Mary.
You better not forget me. I have a updated flyer. This is additional information that was received from the county.
Thank you.
More detail than what I sent you to begin with, so. Well, come on. I know we'll appreciate it. Yeah, here we go. One for Mary and one for you, sir. Don't forget you. I think I'm shrinking. Holy cow. In case you don't know, I'm Mary Gustus from the Comstock Community Center, and I cannot take credit for obtaining this information. My director of the Memory Center, Heather Mounty Pershing, requested this from Kalamazoo County, and to my surprise, we received a response. Not one that I was particularly pleased to see, which I don't think that you will be either. The data was broken down by jurisdiction and zip codes that spanned multiple jurisdictions. We received the information that in 49048, which we know covers a part of the city and part of the township, served 4,336 individuals, and 49053, which is the city of Galesburg, Cooper Township, and part of Comstock Charter Township, served 251 individuals. On the second page, you will see a little bit more detail with regard to Comstock Township, Cooper Township, Galesburg City, City of Kalamazoo, and Kalamazoo Township. What is particularly distressing to me is that the county senior millage, I want to emphasize the county senior millage, which I believe we give close to $250,000 a year to, served 127 in Comstock Township. 2 adult day services, I know we provide the service to those individuals at our memory center. I'm not sure how disease prevention, I don't know what PERS is, hearing aid assistance, home repair, home delivered meals, legal assistance. I'm not sure where the senior center support and staffing is addressed to, whether or not they're referring to our senior center, or last time it was presented, it was the Portage Senior Center that was serving Comstock Township. Transportation and wheelchair ramps. I am particularly interested in what Comstock Township has been identified as receiving. You can tell the discrepancy between our township, Cooper Township, which had even less, and City of Galesburg, which had even less. Cooper Township had 70, Galesburg, the City of Galesburg, 12. City of Kalamazoo had 1,531 individuals, and Kalamazoo Township had 404. I know that Commissioner Geisler serves on that committee, the Senior Services Committee. I gave him a copy of this. He said he had not received any of this information yet. It was a surprise to him. And I said, I think it's interesting that we also get a more detailed breakdown. We've been asking for this information, Bob, how many years now? 4, 5? well, for as long as the county senior millage has been in existence. I think it's rather atrocious that less than 1% of the individuals who live in our community, 49048 and 49053, have less than 1% of the service that is received. City of Kalamazoo and the Township, which are our neighbors, only received 4.5% of service. Okay, I try really hard not to be political. However, I believe this is going to be on the November ballot. Nicole, do you know if? I don't know about November. I know that it's probably up for another approval. I just don't think that money is serving our community properly. You know, we have the Comstock senior millage that has now been in existence for close to 40 years. And when I looked at our numbers in comparison, now granted, we serve children as well as adults. We had 126,000 hits, either through our newsletter or through Facebook or through visits to our center. I think that's a pretty good percentage of what we provide service to. And I just want the board to see what it is that is happening. We've challenged the county with regard to providing detailed information. I think the last time they said, oh, well, we can't give you a breakdown as to what these people are getting because it's a HIPAA violation. Well, obviously we are able to get some information as to services that are provided to the residents in Comstock. I'm just not happy about the fact that they get our money. So there's my report. I can make this available to anybody. If they would like, they can just contact me at the community center and I will either make a copy or I will send it out to them. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any board questions?
Oh, I better stay.
Thank you very much.
No problem. I tried to do that.
Handing it off, Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes, next up, I would like to continue the discussion of a full-time deputy treasurer. As we head into tax season, it's getting a little busy. And I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to talk to Brett Padgett or not in regards to how we wanted to proceed with filling or not filling the spot of CFO. But in talking with Brett, he keeps saying that everything is so repetitious, I don't think we need a CFO. I said, do you think that William and I, him being full-time and me 20 hours a week, because that's what I was elected to do. I said, do you think that we can handle that? He said, yes. And so I don't know, have any of you had an opportunity to talk to Brett at all?
I have not, and with his new job and the hours here limited, I believe what is on Friday, and I have not had a chance to talk with him on that. I think if we, as a board, can offer some questions to him, written questions to get a response, since he's not able to attend our meetings here, that might be helpful in getting to wherever we're going in this transition phase. I personally, I had hoped that we might have an opportunity to have a replacement for him as a financial director. But as I understand it, when he has left that position, or a lot of the duties of that position default to the treasurer, and so be it. I do have some questions on that. I have concerns that that Mr. Knight may not have the presence, the skills, certainly that Mr. Paget had in doing his job. So I would like to have that discussion here on that, and not to say that you don't need a person to complete all the duties that you have, but I'm just not sure going in the direction that that your presentation, that your position seems to be going, that Mr. Knight is in the position, or should be the one in this position. And so, before going on, a question, Mr. Knight, I don't see him here tonight, and it's sort of odd, so I want to make inquiring clarity that we can discuss him without his consent, or has he given his consent that we can discuss this position and whatnot?
It's, the board is free in open meeting to discuss his employment to this full-time position.
Okay, even though he's a deputy treasurer now, that there's no conflict within our...
No, you can have that discussion.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I just wanted to make sure.
You could only go into closed session if he requested it, and that's for our personnel review.
Okay, I could just want to, so with the duties, again, the duties that Brett Paget had overseen, including investment as well as keeping track of the numbers and whatnot, there's where I see, if not a conflict, a discrepancy that I don't see or have not seen in the background of Mr. Knight that he could handle, or he and you could handle those areas. And that, it's not a put down of you or him, but I just do not see that, or have not seen that exhibited. And so, and there's some other things I don't want to, for the board to get beyond or ahead of what we need to do as a board in this transition. But to make any kind of decision tonight, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, because from my background, and it's not to say that my background is the end all, but the people I dealt with in financial matters in past government positions, anyone going into or thought to be a candidate for a position, they had first a background check, they had a credit check, they had a drug check. And before they would even be considered to be available or presentable as a candidate. And again, I mentioned something briefly at the meeting on the 15th, and I have not seen any of that. And so I liked some consideration of that before we make any kind of decision in this matter. And for now, that's all I have to say.
I would like to say that this board has a responsibility to see that this office is staffed, which it is not at this point.
I agree on that.
And under MCL 41.77, that is a responsibility of this board to see that this is fully funded, and there is money in the budget for it, with having Brett no longer there. And I will also say that I don't know of very few treasurers that are elected that are qualified. I believe that's what the training is for, and that is what William is headed to Florida with the deputy clerk for training also.
And I supported that.
And it's not in my, it is my statutory duties to see that these jobs are done, but it was not my doing that put this elected position at 20 hours a week. And so this board is going to find itself in a situation where the job is not going to be done, and the responsibility falls on this board to see that somebody is put into that place when I was elected for 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week is not going to cover what needs to be done. And as far as what you think William can and cannot do, he is a very fast learner. And I don't know, I don't think I could pick it up as fast as he is. I'm getting some of it, but not as quick as he is. And that has a lot to do with his computer skills, and the rest is all teachable. I mean, that's a given based on it's an elected position. So with that being said, we cannot continue to sit here and not make a decision on this. I mean, it has been 2 weeks. If you had the opportunity, when I asked Brett, I said, have you heard from any of the township board? He's like, nope, and they know where I'm at. They know how to get a hold of me. They all have my email. And I said, okay. So there's your answer to that one. So.
Trustee Amos?
I support Treasurer Bloomfield on her decision. She's done her job well all these years, and nobody's complained about it. And I've seen William work, and he seems to be very bright in what he does. I can speak for myself that I've had several jobs in manufacturing in which I was not trained at all, and I went to classes, and I was trained to do my job, and I did my job well. And I see no reason why William can't do that. Thank you very much.
Trustee McIver?
Excuse me. I don't know Mr. Knight that well. And I certainly have no idea what his past training has been in, but the title of CFO certainly carries a lot of weight with it. It's not something that's going to be able to be learned in a couple weeks or at one symposium. Although I do feel that perhaps this is beyond this treasurer's job, and the deputy treasurer, it may be beyond the scope of what they have together in knowledge to do the investment part of the job that the CFO does. So I would not be in favor, without knowing, having more information about Rob Knight, or Mr. Knight, excuse me, as far as what his past has been, whether it be background check, drug check, the rest of the things that everybody else gets, it's employed, there's an employee, until that's been looked at. And that's my feeling about the subject right at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McIver. Clerk Bochamp?
So we had a finance director, we no longer do, so the duties fall to the treasurer. I'm of the opinion that the duties, your statutory duties, fall on the shoulders of the treasurer. So if the treasurer has someone in mind to be her deputy that she feels could do the job and would have basically, if something goes wrong, it's kind of on her shoulders. I would support who the treasurer feels is the most appropriate for that position. Because the deputy treasurer had been part-time as just a deputy treasurer, and now we're transitioning to a full-time position with more duties, some front desk duties. I would say that the position should be treated as every other full-time position, and have a background check, drug test, as all the other, if I can talk tonight, sorry, as all the other employees have done. But if the treasurer feels like that's the best fit for her department, I would support it.
Thank you, Clerk Bochamp. Treasurer Bloomfield and I met with our township CPA, and I guess this would be a clarifying question for Attorney Thaw. As far as the statutory duties of a treasurer, is an investment in that wheelhouse of her duty, that those investments are made at the treasurer's discretion?
Yeah, it does fall under the treasurer's office to make investment of the assets. It is up to the board has a resolution, or should have a resolution regarding investment policy. So you do a policy, the board sets a policy, you also approve the depositories, and then it's up to the treasurer's office to invest the funds.
Okay.
We do have investment policies.
And then the other part, when I was searching through MTA, was the clarity for a deputy, in the pay for the deputy is at the board's discretion, and that would be with the Michigan compiled law that Treasurer Bloomfield cited.
Yeah, so you have, right, so what the deputy's duties are and pay are up to the board, along with the consent of the treasurer to perform those duties for the deputy. So it's basically extra duties of the deputy in, there's job duties that were cited in the packet, and those would be performed by the deputy. But the board does set the compensation
Yep.
and has to agree to those duties.
In the past, we've had a $5,000 stipend for deputies, but that doesn't mean, per the law, that it's limited to that, depending on their scope of their work.
Right, it's entirely up to the board.
And then as far as talking to Brett, I haven't talked to Brett either, but I've witnessed the late nights and the weekends, and I've seen what they're doing, and I can obviously tell they're working collectively and collaboratively together, and the work's getting done. So I haven't really had in my opinion, I've been able to see it for myself that he's here getting the work done and working with Brett and utilizing him. So Treasurer Bloomfield was elected by the community, and I would support Treasurer Bloomfield's decision on how she needs to get her duties done. Ultimately, with a deputy, Treasurer Bloomfield would be the principal, and under her oversight, I really like the list of everything that it goes through, and then it says any other duties as required by the treasurer. And so that position for that pay needs to get the work of the treasurer's office done. And why, if we can do it without a CFO and do it for less, I'm all in favor.
Mr. Supervisor, if I could make a couple of very brief more comments on this matter. And going back to the treasurer, and I agree that it is on her and making the final decision, but as a board, we need to be cognizant of some issues here. And one, in reading over the description here, I don't recall, and I haven't recalled part of our discussions on this matter of Mr. Knight and this enhanced position, issue of the payables accounts and the checks and balances, and who handles the money going out, and who approves accounts payables, the bills, and signs the checks. So if that's something that perhaps you and he could create, something would give us a record of how that is done and who does that, and again, the checks and balances.
Oh, Bob, there's records. Nicole keeps great records.
It is written in law, though, who does what duty. So the clerk pays the bills, the board approves the bills, and the treasurer disperses the bills.
Okay.
So that check and balance is written in law.
And when we transfer money, and it's also approved by the clerk's office. And the way Chad Mites and Brett set this up, it's absolutely amazing if you come and sit and watch it, because what you do is you do everything in BSNA, and then there are spreadsheets and shared folders everywhere with everything imaginable in it since Chad was here, I believe. And we want to make sure we continue to follow what those two set up, because as you saw with this audit, there's never seems to be an issue with the audit as long as I've been on the board with how they've been doing things. So nothing's changing. We're just learning what is there, and we want to make sure we apply it the same way. So that's where we're at.
I could echo from William's standpoint by meeting with him, Treasurer Bloomfield, and the CPA. I think he's pretty well committed to Brett being his mentor, and he's pretty committed to the path of what Brett has been doing, and he's made it very clear, even just asking some questions, you could tell his reaction, he was pretty well committed to stay in the course of Brett, and in the respect of if there were to be any question of a change or why did you do this, I did see that he was committed to asking Brett questions. So I think if we could leverage that opportunity for however long we can, that Brett's here, to be able to give William that education and experience, as well as the oversight along with him, Treasurer Bloomfield. I think right now we've got a part-time person, a treasurer, and there's 3 people that are working on it, and that seems to be looking like they're moving forward.
Could I make another comment? There are MTA classes that are extremely helpful, so that might be one avenue as well. There's the, I think they're called lunch and learns, like hour-long classes, but there are longer ones. That's where I learned a lot about everything. So I think that would be helpful as well. Also, I just want to clarify, because we do have a deputy supervisor, deputy clerk, and deputy treasurer, and they all receive the same amount for a deputy stipend. So I don't think that should change. I think if we're considering this as a full-time position, there should be a base pay. And then if this, or maybe it could be treasurer assistant, and then if they're appointed the deputy treasurer, they receive that additional stipend. That's how it's set up with the clerk and supervisor as well, I believe.
So essentially making this a job position rather than the deputy. And
That's how I see it. That's how the deputy clerk is set up. So that she is general assistant, clerk assistant, and then there's the opportunity to be appointed deputy on top of it, which I did appoint Nicole as deputy. So she receives an additional stipend. So that stipend means if I'm not available, she steps in to be clerk, and then that's what she gets paid for, to be available for that. And I think that's what your deputy gets paid for as well. Yeah. So to me, that would make the most sense to have that same structure as like a treasurer assistant with a deputy appointment and pay on top of that, which is $5,000 a year.
And my question would be, Treasurer Bloomfield, how much was it last time? The payment, was it 46? What were you asking at the last meeting?
I was asking for, I'm sorry, my mic's not on. I was asking for 40 for him last time.
Including benefits, retirement, different things like that. And so I guess the board looking at it is, if he's a employee, are we expecting him to be here from this time to this time with the cost of the benefits, versus if he were a deputy for this pay and is responsible for getting the job done? Do we really want that individual, if the job is being done and done correctly? Is there a need to have to be there from 8 to 5 and get the benefits and the pay, versus if we could get the work done for $40,000 without the pension, the benefits, all of the other things that add up to be more money? That would be my question. And if it's legal to pay him the $40,000 to do his job, and he gets his job done legally, lawful, and at his discretion, along with the standards and the policies that the board's put forth, is there really a need to make him an employee?
I think if we're going to go in this direction, there is a need to have him here during the work time. Just again, from my past experience, what you describe as somebody who's in a position of management, that if they can get the job done, that would require 40 or 60 hours, or how many. If they can get it done in less time, they still reap the benefits and the salary. But as an employee, I think it's mandated from everything I've known. The person has to be here or be in their position so many hours to get the benefits, both the salary, whatever it is, as well as the health insurance or whatever that would be.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Anybody else? Trustee Amos?
I would just like to speak on William's behalf on the things that I've seen with him. He's very skilled with a computer and the things that he does. He's a very hard worker, and he's very complete in what he does. And I just think this would be a good pick. Thank you.
So, my question would be, obviously, if that were the direction, then I don't know if this proposal would still stand. So I think that if that were the direction, then you'd perhaps have to come back to the drawing board with a different proposal to see, okay, whether this person's a part-time or a full-time, and is this price the price that they want for being a full-time employee. If that's, I'm open to board discussion, and
William is willing to work full-time for $40,000 a year. And I think that the last 2 weeks, William and I have put a lot of time in, both of us have. It's been almost full-time for both of us, with the exception of the holiday being closed on July 3rd. And it's gonna be full-time. You cannot leave that office unstaffed. It's a constant moving department that's always requiring answering or doing something for a resident or somebody who's selling their house or buying. It's, yeah, and it's gonna get busier just because it's tax season right now. So I guess I don't understand where the thought process is going that he should be able to do it, and myself, any less than, between the two of us, 60 hours a week. I mean, like I said, there's an obligation here under Michigan statute to fund these positions, and we're not. There needs to be a happy medium somewhere here, so I can't see tabling this again. It's just putting off of the inevitable what we need to accomplish at this board.
I would also say that if we do choose to make this position a full-time employee, then it will need to be opened up for interviews and applications and go through a process. And if Treasurer Bloomfield has the person that she wants to be her deputy, a deputy is chosen. If the deputy has more work description to do, then the board can make the pay at their discretion. But if we want to turn this into a full-time position, we need to follow our procedures, and then it would be open for interviews and different things like that. And, then it's up to, if she's already got it determined and we've invested time into training, then we start from scratch, from ground zero. So I think that there's something to be thought about. Is the board picking the assistant for the treasurer, or are we gonna let the treasurer pick her deputy by principal and selection, and those two are responsible to get the job done?
Again, from what I understand and agree, that the default back to the treasurer once Brett has left his position, which he has. So it's up to her to make that choice with, of course, support from the board that we can give her. But I think we are rushing this. We do not have the checks, the background checks, and the other two checks that have been mentioned of other employees have done forever. And so I think it would help us all in getting to the point where we can support the treasurer by getting those checks done, so we have free sight on what to do, what we need to do to help her out in that position out of treasurer. But I can't see foregoing and making a vote when we don't have all the facts that we would do with any other employee.
I would just say, so with the background check, drug test, those things are normally, you make an offer of employment subject to those checks being happening, that there are positive results from those tests. So typically you make the offer of employment subject to background test, background check, and drug screening. And it wouldn't be unusual for a board to have this as additional duties of the deputy. So it's quite common. You pick your deputy, the board decides if they want to give that deputy extra duties. So I think you have Treasurer Bloomfield's proposal here. I think it's fine if that's what you want to move forward with, the way it is with the treasurer duties. The person would be under the treasurer's office. If the board doesn't agree with the way it's working out at any time, you can withdraw those duties back from the deputy. You can withdraw the salary back. So if it's not working, you still have a check and balance there. As the board assigning the extra duties, you can also take those extra duties away. The only question I have is in the annual salary of the 40,000, are you including the 5,000 stipend, or is that just all bold into one
That was all
salary?
one.
So it's just the salary of the
Just a salary.
treasurer.
And then for our employment policy manual, how would we bypass an external job posting then? Would that be the board would just,
Because he's her deputy now, so it's not, it is different than regular employment, like if you're just going out to hire somebody for that position, you are giving the deputy that Treasurer Bloomfield's appointed extra duties, essentially, and you're designating that person as full-time, this is their salary, and these are their duties they're gonna perform. So it's different than if you just go out to post a job for a CFO or something like that.
With that information, I'd be willing as a board member to go along with that, with the condition that make the offer under the conditions that Mr. Knight passes all the correct checks that we have in mind, including the background check, the drug check, and the credit check.
So that just brings me to a payroll question, because the deputies do get their stipends. He wouldn't get a stipend, he would just have a salary.
Correct.
So he would be different than the other two deputies.
Correct.
Okay.
and then just out of common practice, then for a full-time employee, we would be establishing that he would get the benefits that would go along with that? Because last time it was written in this statement that it was, and then now it's withdrawn because of the deputy, so how would we just
Yeah, if he
understand
works
that?
full-time, he's entitled to the benefits of a full-time employee.
But he does not need medical because of his veteran status.
Tri-State.
And full-time is considered 32 a week to receive benefits, 32 hours.
Just a quick question on that, and your point is that very accurate, but with the benefits, I don't know Mr. Knight that well, but I think I had heard or he had mentioned that he has a family. So benefits that we would offer here, is that something that they, in turn, he wouldn't need it, but perhaps his family would need it?
He does have one child.
Okay. So is that?
I know he has expressed interest in having the life insurance because of that, Trustee Brett.
Okay.
So that would be whatever you decide, if you're going to make the motion or who's ever making the motion.
Well, he would likely be entitled to the same benefits that all employees would be offered, and then with the ability to decline.
It is whatever a full-time employee here would be entitled to.
Okay.
And then if they waive accepting one of the benefits, then that's how our policy would work.
Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs of your medical. Sometimes you can't waive it. Sometimes you can waive it. Sometimes municipalities pay payment in lieu of. So instead of taking the insurance, they give you a lesser amount to not take insurance. I don't know what your policy
We do
provides
have
for.
in lieu of.
In lieu of, right. Yep, that was the word I was looking for. So.
Right.
Okay, any further board questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Treasurer Bloomfield, looking to you for anybody here for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we offer Deputy Treasurer William Knight a position with a base salary of $40,000 plus benefits, with the contingency of passing the checks of drug and background check. Was there another one there, Bob?
A credit check.
Credit check.
I would say whatever we require of full-time employees.
Okay,
For the policy.
for the policy, for the employee policy.
Support.
Motion made by Treasurer Bloomfield, supported by Clerk Beauchamp. Roll call vote?
Trustee Pratt.
Yes.
Trustee Amos.
Yes.
Supervisor Martin.
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee McIver.
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield. Moving through trustees into supervisor, we have a township property update. So just for our planning purposes, we had a roof inspection at Township Hall. The replacement cost today would be $80,000. Obviously, if we were to bid for that, we would put it out for bid. But we've got 8 to 10 years left on the roof. So luckily, the first contractor that I reached out to, just to give us I noticed some imperfections on the roof, and I just thought we'd get it checked out. And just the type of board that they used a handful of years ago, they've changed things up, but we're of no issue for leaks right now. We've got 8 to 10 years left. It's got a steep slope, so the water runs quick. And just for our planning purposes, obviously the price will probably go up, but that's just something to be cognizant of. The transfer station, you're gonna see an Eagle permit coming through for $750. I had to get a new login made for my credentials, and that will put the township in a better position than it was. I believe there was just some misunderstanding, and we were able to rectify that. That compost can now stay on site, and then there will be a list of materials that we'll be able to offer our residents that they could bring to the transfer station. We looked at different options on whether or not you would get that $750 license from the status of the license that we're at now, and there was absolutely no rhyme or reason not to get the proper compost licensing. So that will come through, that you'll see an expenditure for. The brush was piled too high and too dry from a prior inspection that happened. So what we did was, we want to thank Bailey's Excavation for the donation of a front end loader and an excavator. We burned more brush than we could have imagined. Thank you to the fire chief for being in support of us in case we needed them. I want to thank Dakota, our ordinance officer. He helped tremendously. He let it ablaze and tended to it and watched it. So we were able to get that all burned up, and it burnt for a couple days. Obviously, we know that this wasn't the perfect ideal time to do that, but being that things are changing and that we needed to button up things a little bit tighter and keep our permitting agency happy, we did that. And so we've windrowed the compost, put that in proper piles with the proper slope and grading that Eagle was looking for, and in an area that would have all the criteria met for what they wanted. And then we're gonna be taking brush for the next 2 weeks for storm damage, so there would be no charge. But obviously if you decide to cut down a tree, you're gonna need to pay. But if you have storm damage and brush, we will take that at the transfer station. And just once again, Bailey's Excavating donated the front end loader, delivered an excavator on a lowboy and filled it up with fuel, and told us to get it cleaned up. So a big shout out and thank you to them. Moving along to the homeless committee update and possible action. We met with the homeless committee, and Attorney Thaws had some correspondence back and forth. The boards had some questions. Dakota, our ordinance officer, this time of year, he had to step out from the homeless committee to attend to the things that he's doing. And one thing that I've noticed, it's a very complex topic, and from information coming from Attorney Thaw through Dakota, through me, in explaining it in the way that Attorney Thaw would explain it directly, I think that there could be some clarification, there could be some direct contact. I think we could mitigate the back and forth, and instead of having the committee members feel like their information's third party, if they have hot button questions to ask Attorney Thaw, I think if we had Attorney Thaw attend in person a homeless committee meeting, I think that that could help us bring forth a ordinance that our community really could use. In Attorney Thaw, if you could from our conversations, if you could chime in on if you think that that would help us or what your thoughts are. Obviously, you know some of the questions that we've asked you, and if you think it would be a benefit to speak directly to the board.
Yeah, I think it would. We could move things forward, I think, a little quicker if I had a meeting with the homeless committee. I've drafted a ordinance to try to take into consideration how to handle the situations with trespass and the different types of trespass situations. And then there could also be a policy that goes with that of how you implement it. But you have to have, you know, the teeth behind the ordinance to start with. If you have to, you know, if you have to do something, you have to be able to do it. And that's your ordinance. You can have a policy supporting that ordinance and how you enforce it. But I think it'd be best, you know, if I could get in front of the homeless committee, explain, answer their questions, and then maybe move that ordinance forward.
Thank you, Attorney Thaw. That would be one thing that I think we're going to spend the money one way or another. And if he can get in a room with us and we can get this done, I think we're really close. We just have some questions to get addressed. And then our goal would be to bring that ordinance forth as a recommendation from the homeless committee to the township board. And if Attorney Thaw can meet us in that committee and we can make a recommendation for an ordinance that's buttoned up, ready to go from you guys, then we won't bring you one that you have to make a bunch of changes to and send it back to him either way. And I just think that that could just earn a lot of trust being direct to the members. That I think we have a little bit of the difference in this committee is, which is makes it a good committee, is there's varying differences of opinion. And so we're all kind of have different thoughts. And so a little bit of continuity from a law and a practical standpoint of why does this ordinance maybe sound kind of harsh or things like that. Attorney Thaw could, you know, indicate why ordinances are not very fun to read. And then from a conduct standpoint, illustrate if we want to have the ordinance so it reads in a manner of law, but then a policy that helps illustrate how we have different criterias of levels before we escalate a situation to, like, say, a misdemeanor penalty. That obviously wouldn't be the goal of the ordinance, is just to go around issuing misdemeanors, but it's like Attorney Thaw said, it's a part of an ordinance that has the repercussions if so needed, and then the policy that holds the ordinance officer, and hopefully if we could get the county sheriff to review our policy, then it gives them steps and a procedure to follow before the situation's completely escalated. Are there any questions?
If you're thinking of having a committee meeting with Attorney Thaw, is that going to be open to the public and advertised?
So some of our committee members have not been in favor of some of these deeper conversations to be had in a public meeting due to the recording and being in public. I was in favor of being in public when we started the committee, but I can respect their desires, and they were the individuals appointed to the committee, and by a majority of the committee, some of these tougher conversations they felt we could have in a conference room. So that is up to this board on how they want to see our expenditures and point that committee in a direction. But knowing what I know, I believe if we're looking for an ordinance that assists our ordinance officer, I believe that it would work best for us to continue in the manner that a majority of the committee wants to at this point. And obviously through presentation at the board level, when the committee makes the recommendation to the township board, then it would be at an open meeting. And this township board has the ultimate say. It's just would be a recommendation being made from the committee. If there are no further questions, I make a motion to authorize Attorney Thaw to attend a homeless committee meeting one time in person.
Support.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving along to EPS Security update. So as I was working with our EPS Security technician, we were just going through the list and just cleaning things up. And one thing that I put on your desk is a quote. It was interesting timing as I was working on this. I had a township staff member just ask our emergency plan of how we need to lock down the building if there were anything to happen, if there was an emergency. It happened to be an individual spent the night on the front steps of the township hall, and when staff got here, he had quite a good-sized knife on the front of his person. And as you can see, a man sleeping at the front door with a knife. Staff was a little concerned about that. One thing that happens is there's a button that you can press that is a remote that locks the door. And because it's a remote, I don't know if you've ever had way too much stuff in your hands as you're walking to your car and you click the button and you get there and it's not unlocked. Sometimes there's that delay, and the buttons for the automatic door locks, they're a little laggard. And if they don't hold the button long enough, the door is getting a little bit sticky. So we've had to prop the door open a handful of times. What they had mentioned was if it were directly wired in, the reaction from the time that you press the button and the instance that there was an emergency, and I think as a township board with employees in the building, we do have an obligation to make sure that our building in systems are set up in a manner, if something were to happen, that it's set up quickly. Part of this quote would be able to give it would be the 3 buttons at the front window would be directly wired in. Because they'd be running a wire, there would be a light that would indicate whether or not the door was locked or unlocked. So in the instance of an emergency, when you press the button, you don't really know if it's locked or unlocked. And so in the evenings as well, when you go to close up the buildings, you would be able to, when you're doing the checks around the township hall, be able to look up at the light, and the second set of doors are locked as well. And then the other thing that they noticed when they were just giving us advice was a panic button. And so while they would be wiring that up, there would be a direct wire for the door locks, for an emergency lock, a light that indicates whether the door's locked or unlocked. Staff comes in the morning, sees the lights orange or red, hits the button, makes sure that it's unlocked, and then a panic button that would be wired in, one panic button in case anything were to happen. They wouldn't have to pick up the phone and they would call the sheriff. So that quote is $2,150 with a $5 monthly service, would be $60 annual. Be looking at an expenditure of $2,210. Then there's some other things that in the instance that there were another emergency, there is another step that we've set forth for like an entire building lockdown, and then that would lock the building down and not allow anybody else in it. And we've already taken the steps to set that part up. So, any questions?
Is this an upgrade from the panic button we already have?
It would be an so the button that we have is the door lock button, unless we have a remote panic button.
We do. And it does lock down the doors and alerts the police, and we have 2 of them. And I believe the discussion was not to have it wired because it had to be wired behind where the front desk staff sit. So to move, if there's an emergency from here to the back would be seconds matter. And it would be too much time. So we have a remote button, 2 of them actually. So that this is partially already in place.
From the standpoint, yeah, when they were here, they brought like 2 technicians and the sales rep, and they visited twice, and somehow
they did not know they had that.
Yeah,
already?
I think because the remote ones, we were told that those were just the door lock ones, and we didn't know about the other emergency ones.
Did they test them when they were here?
They did,
Okay.
quite extensively, and nobody came, so. But then there was a couple times where we thought that we locked the door and it didn't lock. And then it's kind of like you hold the button, and obviously you know, but you hold it and then it kind of blinks a couple times, and then you wonder whether it's locked or not. So we could certainly revisit removing some of that. I think part of their thought process was too, within the seconds matter, is that the remote has a little bit, because it's going through the walls, versus if it were directly wired, it's hit the button, it's locked. Treasurer Bloomfield?
Safety first. I was just sitting here while I'm listening to you, and I'm wondering if we have a policy or anything for when something happens, or any training's ever been done?
We have had trainings in this since we moved into this building, yes. We have had emergency and active shooter trainings. It doesn't hurt to do them more frequently, but we have had them.
And that is what I was asked by staff members. And so as I'm going through the employee policy manual, and there are those requirements, this was kind of part of building that policy for us to have, just to make it stronger and better. So then when we do the practicing, we also have the tools in place to be able to use them to make it better.
Well, that makes sense.
Trustee McIver?
Well, truly, if the equipment we have right now is a delay and it's supposed to be a panic thing, instantaneous, as instantaneous as anything electrical can be, it should be addressed. And for sure that what we already have installed is not up to par for what it was advertised to do.
I don't think that, I think we get what we got what we paid for. We got a remote that has to go through the walls, and there is just a little sense of delay. And so I think we would just be making an improvement and then tightening up when we do have this, you know, when whether we redraft a policy and practice and different things like that, then these could just be things that would tighten that up to where, you know, if time was really of essence, you hit the button, it's locked, and you got a light that gives you the confidence to know that, hey, there's a guy sleeping out at the front door that has a giant knife on him. He did tell me that it's life or death for him, and that if the ordinance officer comes near him, it's game on. There's no stopping him. Like, he's going to go after the ordinance officer. I found out that he was trespassed by the ordinance officer on township property. So I walked over to hear him out, to hear what he had to say. I met him at the gas station. At the gas station, he told me that he was, you know, he talked about some of his illnesses, and he told me that he's a very violent person. And then I looked down at his knife, and I thought, well, what an instance that I've got myself into here. So I can understand that, you know, there's people out there that, you know, it's a real world we live in, and if staff was asking about it and we're their employer, I know it costs money, but, you know, it's how the useful years of life of doing this, I think we would get some life out of it, and some respect and a peace of mind for our staff that may have to deal with things. He was told he's trespassed. He also indicated that he is not gonna not be trespassed, and that he is gonna spend the night at the doorstep every night. So I asked the sheriff for a little bit of extra patrols. Part of the homeless committee ordinance and things that we're working on right now is so when people are trespassed, that the sheriff recognizes it, and there is not as much synergy as I would like to see happen with that. And so we need to continue refining our ordinance per what Attorney Thal said. That way we can have a common understanding together of these instances, because if there's an individual that is trespassed from township property, sleeping on the front doorstep at night with a knife that isn't, you know, gonna keep coming back, we have to do something about that.
Well, I won't argue the fact you can't put a price on somebody's life. And if it's supposed to make the people in this building safe and keep them safe, I'm all for it, honestly.
Thank you, Trustee MacGyver. Trustee Pratt?
Just a couple things. Something Clerk Camp brought up concerning the security we have. And this is a lot news to me because never got into this. But if we have something and we're paying for something now concerning the security and it's not working properly, I think we should have a discussion with EPS prior to asking for an upgrade or whatever. And did I hear, Clerk, that you said that in part that we had something already that should cover some of
We do have a panic button. There are two. There's one at the front desk, and then I have one in my office. So sometimes when someone is walking in the front, they might not be able to see immediately if there is a threat, but I can see from where my office is, if there is an issue walking in, I can sometimes see before the front desk can. So I like the idea of having two, not just one in the front where I would have to run there if I see something come in, but I can push the panic button from my office, and that would lock the doors to prevent someone from coming in and should alert the police. By the time the front desk sees someone walking in with a knife, they're already in the building. So that's my only concern with having it hardwired, because I think that at that point it's a little late. They're already in there. So if it's to protect the staff from someone with a gun or someone with a knife, you know, I think that's going to cause a delay as well. So I would really want to have a conversation with EPS if we do hardwire it in. I'm all about safety if this is a better way, but I would want to have the conversation on how to do that so those options would also be available.
So maybe we could clarify with them if they did do one hardwired one, if we would still be able to keep the remote access as well. And Trustee Pratt, for clarification, it wasn't that it is not working, it's just that a directly wired one would work faster. And then that there's no indicating light on if it is locked or not when you press the button. And so if they were to come do the quote for just the wiring for the light, it was within the can of worms that they were running wire and it was there. So that's how those ideas came about.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Amos?
Being a safety manager for 14 years in manufacturing, I have a few questions, I guess, because we've never talked about safety and evacuating this building. Do we have a written evacuation plan? Like if there was an emergency, let's say right now somebody yelled fire, is there a written plan to evacuate this building?
I do believe so. I know we have one to evacuate the precinct, but for the building, I believe we do have that in place, but where it is, I would have to dig a little bit.
Okay, is there a way to account, is there a written plan of how to account for everybody that's in the building?
We did go through this exercise when we moved into the building, when we had some of the trainings. That was handled by the superintendent, honestly, so I don't know where those documents would be, but they would be somewhere.
Okay, and my last question would be, is the plan written? Is it written down in a plan someplace?
I believe that is true.
Okay, and I know it's required to have annual training. Okay, just as a safety person,
Yes.
I knew that, so that I had those questions. Thank you.
And as far as reading the employee policy manual, but then finding them written policies, I've not been successful to obtain them. There's a lot to go through, but I haven't found them. And so instead of waiting on finding them, this was kind of my plan, is to start kind of creating our own and work together, bring it forward to a proposal. So if you guys would like me to do a little bit of homework on this before we make a motion or take any action, I could ask EPS maybe you know, rather than a single point of failure with just one button directly wired, could we do an instance where the door locks are directly wired and then still, because I believe with the monthly service agreement, they didn't remove any services, so I believe that those remotes would still be able to work. In the instance, like if the button was in your office and it was remote and you may not be here or something like that. I see both sides of it. So kind of more tools in the toolbox, maybe the better, and I could get some clarification. If there's any further questions that you guys would like me to ask, you can drop me an email and let me know and I can ask them. So we will be moving along to, we rescheduled the ordinance report to come after closed session. So I'll be looking for a motion to enter closed session.
I move that the Township Board meet in a closed session under Section 81A of the Open Meetings Act
Support?
to discuss a personnel evaluation requested by Dakota Chapsky.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp. Did I hear something from you, Jerry? Yes. Supported by Trustee Amos. Roll call vote?
Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Okay, we're going into closed session.
And actually, should we have named Dakota to enter a closed session with us?
I think because it was requested by him in the motion, it is assumed, or I can,
He is, yep. Is that fine, just because it was requested by him? Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, I can tell.
Oh, this will get rid of it. Oh, yeah.
Or something that somebody's level is connected to. That could go either way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, it was that whole story that brought it all back to me, you know.
And your bestie's not here for support.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Man, I was.
I know, right? She was
That's just, you know, strange
I
cold.
don't either. They might break her.
And that's what I get.
Church was dying.
We're not for the week.
I'd be looking for a motion to exit closed session.
I move we exit closed session.
Support. Motion made by Treasurer Bloomfield, supported by Trustee Amos. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving along to finance, we have reports. We have the June 20,
Supervisor, I think we have a.
oh, yep, sorry, we're moving
motion.
a little fast.
Okay, I move that we approve an increase in Dakota's pay to a new pay rate of $30 per hour.
Support. Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Amos. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving along to reports, we have the June 2026 Fire Department Public Relations Report. Bills paid July 2nd, 2026.
Supervisor, we had an ordinance for.
Oh, there we go, sorry. Been a long day. Sorry, Dakota, don't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
I should have ate lunch. I have a headache.
It's paying me. Alrighty, so. For June, I went to court 3 times. I wrote 2 citations. Complaints, I had 33 complaints. Out of those, I had 64 cases. I found 31 violations. I corrected 54 violations with 5 open at the end of the month. Year to date, I'm at 239 cases, 361 complaints. For 2025, I had 351 cases, and for 2024, they had 180 complaints. So I'm way ahead of back in 2024. Any questions?
Keep up the good work.
All right, this is the shortest one yet, so you're welcome.
All right, now we'll be moving along to these finance reports I was so eager to get to. June 2026 Fire Department Public Relations Report. Bills paid July 2nd, 2026. June 2026 Fire Department Incident Report, and March and April attorney bills. Informational and future action items. I have FOIA requests. Public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. A citizen may state their name and address, may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor. No other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from board members, but you are welcome to make an appointment with the supervisor to discuss your comments further. Contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
Tammy Keeler. Usually when you give out a FOIA request, you don't ask for it not to be publicized that it was attorney-client privacy. It was on Facebook the other day that they don't want it brought out in the public. Once that FOIA is out there, it's out there. Whoever issued it shouldn't have issued it at all. Now the person doesn't know which one it is, actually. You can ask them not to put it out there when it's already out there. We ought to know what's going on as citizens of Comstock. I don't care what's in that for you. And as far as William taking a drug test and stuff, that is so wrong. That, you know, make everybody up there take a drug test. And I'm sure that a few of you have backgrounds that you don't want brought out. And people are looking for them, and we will find them. And Pratt, you might as well say bye-bye now. You should just resign. Sherry should resign too, because you've both gone. You are never fair, neither one of you. At least Nicole MacGyver, you know, sometimes they don't vote the way that you and Sherry vote. Every time something brought up about pay or anything like that, I'm sure you got a kickback out of Hess, didn't you? I'm positive of that. You guys are just, you gotta go. That's all there is to it. We want somebody on this board like Emily Murphy and William that will be honest with the people. I've seen comments out there about Ben also. I may be his aunt, but as a supervisor, he's done one hell of a job. You guys don't want safety in here. You don't want anything. Nicole can't even find half the stuff. So, what are the protocols and all that stuff? I mean, you guys are not doing your duties. And I just wish that somebody would have ran against Beauchamp and she would have been on here too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Karen Height. I guess my only question is, I do realize that you have to vet people when they're being hired or whatever. But William has already been here. I think he's proven himself that he cares about this township. I have not seen the actual employee handbook, but does every single employee get all three of those? Or do they just get the background check and maybe the drug test? I know those are pretty standard, but do you do a credit report on every single employee? That's kind of privacy. I realize that he's working in the treasurer's office. Yeah, that's handling money. But if it's only for him, that's singling out. If you're gonna do it, then it needs to be changed for every employee. You can't have it one for this and one for that. It needs to be the same for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sarah Odom, Township President. I know there's been some talk both online, also some conversations that I've had with community members in person. The homeless committee, there's just been a lot of questions and wondering what's been going on with it. I may be wrong, but I was under the impression that this is kind of the first update we've gotten from the homeless committee, I think since maybe January. So maybe trying to keep your residents a little more informed on what's going on with that, because that is definitely a topic that comes up at every single board meeting. It is a big concern for a lot of residents, wanting to know what's being done what information you guys are finding out. We all understand it's a difficult situation, but since we do have a committee, it would be nice to see a little bit more information coming out of the committee. I'd like to thank the board, also all of you. It seems like the last couple of months have been going a little bit smoother. Sandy, I'd like to thank you. I really enjoyed the presentation with Bob and Richard. I had seen a little bit about that online, and their presentation tonight definitely makes me want to make sure that I do actually go see the display in Battle Creek. I'm really excited to see that. There's been some chatter about with the transfer station and now the compost. People are wondering what's going to happen with it. Is it going to be sold as a profit for the township? Can residents buy it? Is it going to be given away to residents? There just seems like a little bit more information that the community is wanting to know as far as what the availability and what's going to be moving forward. Is that going to be something that can benefit everybody, or, you know, is it going to be a profit maker for a possible profit maker for the township? Let's see. As far as, you know, Mr. Knight, it's a hard decision for the board to make on which direction you guys all want to go forward with him. I've been a government employee more than once for Kalamazoo County. I've also worked for a nonprofit agency that took overflow cases for the state of Michigan. Background checks, credit checks, drug checks, they're kind of mandatory in government situations. I've had them all done on me. Every employee all my coworkers that I've worked with, we've also had to have drug tests done before we were ever able to step foot and do any type of work. So me, as someone who has worked in government, I do appreciate the following through with what is a normal procedure for government employees. And again, I'd like to thank all of you guys for the work that you've been doing the last couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Alex Royer, a longtime volunteer in this community, specifically at Robert Morris. I've been disc golfing there since 2008, and been part of the K-Aces League since 2016, and I'm basically just asking, can the board clarify whether or not the K-Aces Disc Golf League is still welcome to organize leagues there, volunteer maintenance, and other activities at Robert Morris? And if not, when was the decision made? Why was it made? And was the league given an opportunity to discuss any concerns? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If there are no further comments, we'll be moving along to members' comments. Trustee Amos?
Good, thank you.
Trustee Pratt?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Clerk Beauchamp?
I have nothing tonight.
Trustee McIver?
I'm all set, thank you.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
I have one thing. I just want to remind the residents that July 18th is the tire recycling at 322 East Stockbridge, and you do need to call and make an appointment, and the phone number is 775-3368. Again, I'll repeat that, July 18th, tire recycling, and the phone number to make an appointment in order for you to be able to drop off tires is 775-3368. Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield. Okay. So, thank you. Today, Deputy Rockwell and myself, we worked on a grant, and it would be for $656,000, and that would be to be able to have a maximum of $40,000 per home that you could address some health and safety concerns with for construction, And perhaps it could be into energy efficiency, different things that help them heat their homes in the winter, or any measures that would protect their home. We would be looking at an allocated $656,000 approximately, with around $118,000 of it for administrative fees. And part of that process would be that we would need a procurement policy. And so I don't know if we would want to set something for, it would be state-issued dollars. I don't know if that would be, if we're still working on the bigger picture procurement policy. Previously, somebody else hired at the township was working on this grant, and then there's been, a transition, and a lot of the information, it wasn't, the partner that we had, it wasn't completely understood. So today, I had a meeting, and it looks like that those funds are still available, but in order to do it, it was originally thought of that we could pick a partner. We would be the grantee of it, and then we would have a partner. But then now it's been demonstrated today during our conference call that we may have to put the third-party administrator out to bid, because this organization thought that they were on a community development list, and they happen to not be on the list. So that was through a state of Michigan. It was a new program, and that's kind of their own problem to work out. So they're gonna try to get on this list, but the other option would be if we would move forward with the $656,000 at a maximum of $40,000 per home, or you could do upwards of, it'd be a $1,000 to $40,000. There's certain criteria, like if you spend $10,000 on a home, there's a 5-year lien. But if it's transferred ownership in the family, then they can continue on. But it's for low income individuals, and so that's why they put the lien on, because then if you sell the home and you got the 40,000 or the 10, you would have to pay that back. So part of that program, in order to move us forward, would be a procurement policy, and then that would address maybe state funding. So I don't know if that would be something the board would want to include into the regular overall procurement policy, or to not miss out on these dollars if we're still waiting on other things. So that would be a thought to think about. And then to address the question about the compost at the transfer station, it was more of a licensing thing to get the transfer station into compliance with the ability to be able to hold raw ingredients on site and not have to immediately truck them within a certain period of time. Now that we can hold that material on site, between the employees at the transfer station and the limited means of equipment, we pick our battles, and it would be great to sell it if we could turn a little, eventually take some brush at the transfer station, send it through a chipper, use the chips in the compost pile. But as far as right now, we haven't made any plans. There's a little bit of part of some of the requirements. The good thing from Eagle would be is the soil or the compost would not be required to be screened, so we wouldn't have to spend a significant amount of money to screen it, but there is a little bit of equipment work that would need to turn it into compost. And I don't know, we would always be able to count on it being donated, but there's a big heap and pile turning into dirt right now. And so whether we would donate it and get rid of it at first, or ideally, selling some compost at the transfer station to subsidize some of the other things would be great, but I think we're open to ideas on that. And yeah, I don't know if I could encourage the board to email me, or we can chat sometime, but how we would want to handle that policy, whether we would want to do that. I'll keep working on the grant, have another conference call tomorrow. Essentially, it's close to like $700,000+ in total that we could get if we start putting some stuff together. So with that being said, that's all I have. Does anybody have anything else? This meeting is adjourned.